Hello, good morning. Welcome to you all on this dark day here on Claret and Booze. This is the unusual event of a double daily ramble because I think it warrants it. I think the game last night warrants a double header. So, morning, John.
Morning, mate. How you doing? You all right?
No, not really, not really.
No.
It was it was a grim night, wasn't it? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I mean, first and foremost, I just want to give credit to the fans, right? Because I thought we were fantastic last night. What did you think?
Yeah, but you know what? I think the way the team started, or Bowen particularly started in that first minute when he skinned Dan Burn, I think it sort of gave the fans something to sing about and something to get hold of early doors. You know, I think that's probably one of the first times this season that from the off, we've all of a sudden, we hit the post on the back of Guimaraes putting his tackle in. And I think it gave us. We was like, hang on a minute, we're gonna actually turn the tables here. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna not sit off of a team as we have done 99% of the season, and it sort of lifted the crowd instantaneously. But yeah, the crowd were there. The crowd were for the first few minutes anyway. The crowd were there for the team, So
yeah, and I thought we sang Bubbles really loud. It was a full house. There wasn't many empty seats in there.
No.
It was good. And oh bloody hell, the first 6 minutes. I mean, it looked so promising, didn't it? It looked so promising. And then all of a sudden, Kehrer gives away an absolutely needless corner. I mean, he had Fabianski right in front of him. I don't know whether he's tried to head the ball to Fabianski and it slipped off his head and gone out, or if he meant to do that. I don't know.
No, you saw it was like 50. He had a 50 pence head. You saw as soon as it went behind the corner, he looked disappointed in himself. He was trying to find Fabianski. Whether he took his eye off the ball or he got blinded by the floodlights, who knows? But it was a basic error. And look, I'm sure you're going to say it, but it didn't lead straight away to the goal. But the second phase after the corner, they got their first goal, as you know. So
yeah, and that was so disappointing because what happened always happens, right? And I think you picked up on it. We've been doing WhatsApps, and I picked up on it as well. I was screaming it several times last night because this wasn't the last time it happened, right? Wilson was just standing there unmarked, just inside or just outside the 6-yard box. No one near him. They ignored him. They forgot he was there. I mean, you cannot do that with Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson, he's not the fastest player in the world anymore, but he finds space. In fact, he doesn't run into space. He just walks into space.
Yeah, I mean, that was a collection of errors. So from the Kehrer header that led to the corner, I think St. Maximan was the one that crossed it in.
Yeah.
I think Ben Rama was ahead of Emerson. I think Ben Rama didn't really get to grips with St. Maximan. Yes, he's a good player. He's a little bit tricky, but it was far too easy to put the cross in. But like you say, Wilson had the freedom of the penalty area. He was literally standing in between Aged and Zuma. And as soon as he put it in, I mean, as soon as the cross come in, from where I was standing, I was in the Bobby Moore lower, right to that side of the goal. I saw Wilson standing on his own, and I just went to my mate goal.
Yeah.
And it's unforgivable. You can't give, he's a good striker, but he's prolific against us. They must know his record. Don't fucking give him the freedom of the penalty area.
No, absolutely right. And then, just a few minutes later on the 13th minute, I mean, apparently, if you look at it on telly, both Emerson and Kehrer decided not to push up with the centre halves. They played what's his name onside? Joe Linton onside. Yeah. He's come through, rounded the keeper with ease.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, credit where credit's due. It was a fantastic run that he made because he ran from deep, but the ball was played by one of their centre backs, Shah. I mean, what a pass it was,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was unforgivable. The full-backs, left back, right back, to not go with the centre backs was again schoolboy, and we found ourselves 2-0 down and 2 very, very avoidable goals,
Yeah, and at this point we're sort of in despair, right? I mean, it was grim. and miserable, wasn't it? It was just, you know, we didn't know, nothing was happening. They were all over us, and then at this point, I think this is where the arse started falling out of the defence completely. They totally lost it, and there was 2 or 3 times where Wilson was just strolling free in that around the 6-yard box. Even me, I started shouting and swearing over there, you know, because you're trying to tell them, feels like they're not very far away, but they probably can't hear you. You know what I mean? Pick up Wilson, right? Pick up Wilson.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the 40th minute when it Kurt Zuma rose like a salmon and headed in from a Bowen cross. Now, if you a corner, and if you look at the replay, Antonio did what Antonio used to do and block the keeper off.
Yeah, I mean that was a throwback to 18 months ago when Antonio was, you know, getting elite managers moaning about the fact that he was standing on the keeper like Jurgen Klopp and things like that. He didn't touch Pope at all. He just literally, he gave him a little nudge, but very, very inconspicuous. But you know, it was a bit of a howler from Pope, you know, for me. But and you know, when Zuma put it in the net, you know, even before that, you know, passages of play before that, I felt Antonio, to me, and I know I've seen people on Twitter again, you know, slagging him off. I think Antonio was running them ragged to some extent, you know. He was getting, if you noticed, Antonio was going out to the wings a lot, specifically to get the ball and run down the channels. And I thought he was having a really good, end to the half, you know.
I totally agree with you. And also Rice, the way he tried to push the team forward in the last 10, 15 minutes of that first half, he really tried to take the ball by the arms. I think Bowen was also having a decent game, really trying to get involved on the right-hand side. As for the others, I think the first half with Paqueta, I think he improved in the second half, but the first half with Paqueta, there were too many stray passes for my liking.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's be honest, I still sort of, you know, the funny thing is, right, I came away after the game and I'm still sitting here now. Oh, sugar. I'm still sort of thinking it weren't a 5-1 game, funnily enough, because, and what I mean by that is because when we went in 2-1 down at half time, our towels were up, you know, and I can only imagine, I'm not saying David Moyes gave an inspirational speech, but I'm sure some of the players would have been geeing each other up in that dressing room going, look, we're back in this, it's 2-1, you know, and you know,
I was quite happy at half time, like you. I was quite happy, upbeat. I was looking forward to the second half. I thought we're back in this. We've got something, right? And you know, if you listen to Declan Rice's, where he looks absolutely gutted in his post-match interview. I mean, gutted. He took this personally. He said at half time, you know, the towels were up. They were really looking forward to coming out and getting on with a job and pulling the game back. They thought they could do it. They thought they could do it, and it just went wrong within a minute of the restart, didn't it? Your camera's gone off,
I mean,
by the way.
Look, people are going to say, I've had this discussion with a lot of people. I had a discussion over there and things like that. You know, we can blame Moyes till the cows come home with things that happened later on in the game. I get that. He's not excusable for this. But we went in at half time, towels up. The fans were pretty much buoyant, you know?
Yeah.
You know, people always say you score that close to the halftime whistle, you know, that's a good time to score.
Yeah.
That mistake after 22 seconds was absolutely unforgivable.
Well, there were 2 mistakes, actually, to my mind, right? I mean, firstly, what a blinding back header from Maguire to the keeper. I mean, that was just like, it was so casual.
I forgot that.
Just literally seconds before he made the biggest fuck up you've ever seen. And then Fabianski throws him out of the ball. He really shouldn't have thrown him the ball in that position because he did have a player on him. But it wasn't really a mistake. Aguerd should have done better. He should have done better.
Yeah, I mean, Aguerd was facing where the player came from. He knew the player was there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a one-touch thing. One touch, play it out to Emerson and things like that. Mate, I can't excuse it. It's not because it's Aguerd and it's not because it's the only mistake of the game, because it wasn't and it isn't. But the timing of that just took the wind out of the sails of the players and the supporters. You know, so many fans hadn't even come back from their half-time beer or toilet.
I know.
You know, I was there, I saw it, but so many fans were going, what's happened? You know, I had to get it up on my phone and show people on Twitter and things, you know.
It was unbelievable. I mean, he got caught in possession. The guy stole the ball off him cleanly and put it into the middle. And who's waiting there completely unmarked?
Yeah, Callum Wilson again.
Number
That's
3.
12 goals in 13 games against us now.
On Callum Wilson a minute. When he scored his first goal, I can't stand for Callum Wilson. I really can't. And the way he's just a horrible bloke, right? The way I hate it when an away team scores, you haven't given that that player any abuse, and they come and give it large in front of the fans, right? We've never given Wilson any abuse. To my mind, there's no hatred between us and Wilson. So why he thought he could take the piss and do the fucking Macarena in front of us, right? I don't know. And then I found out that was a bet in that fucking podcast that him and Antonio do. That was a bet between him and Antonio. They were deciding what dances they were going to do if they fucking scored against each other's team. Antonio, mate, think of the fans. Think of your fans. You know that prick's going to score. And that's the result of it. So the Macarena is on Antonio, but I'm not forgiving Callum Wilson because the guy's a prick.
I mean, he did that. You know, he celebrated for a good 30 seconds in front of the Bobby Moore, didn't he?
He did.
And you know, things were being thrown. I saw a few items being thrown at him, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure what he expected taking a piss like that. You know, our fans are at the best of times get agitated quick. Quite rightly, I do, but. You know, when we're fighting relegation and he scores a fucking free header like that and then he dances in front of us, I'm not sure what he's going to expect.
So cowardly as well to just do it so far away, right? If you want to do the Macarena, Callum, come closer, mate. Come closer.
Yeah, not sure it'd go down well, but I know what you mean.
Nah.
But look, I'm not blaming Aguerd. 4 of the 5 goals in my mind were defensive errors. But the timing of that goal, the timing of that error, it just absolutely killed the game to me.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to single him out because he weren't the only one last night, but the timing of it just fucking, oh, mate, it was just such a bad time.
It's
it's never a good time to give away a goal. There's never a good time to give away a goal, but that was fucking shocking.
No, it was. It killed us, and it killed the fans. It killed the team. The team pretty much give up from that point. To my mind, we were treading water. Newcastle were doing Olay passes. Right, they were having a bit of a party out there, and then Moyes steps up and does a quad substitution.
Yeah, I mean I felt that was overkill. I'm not sure we needed to make that many changes.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, again, the obvious change was the passenger in midfield, Soucek, who again. You know, I sent you them stats. Should I read them out?
Yeah, go on.
So I nicked this off Twitter, right? So I'm not going to take credit for it at all. So this is Thomas Soucek in recent games, right? So let's go back to the Brighton game. He played 75 minutes, 22 passes with a 79% success record. Against Villa, 90 minutes, 9 passes, 69% success record. 1 tackle, 1. Against Southampton, 68 minutes, 11 passes, 52% success, and 1 tackle, 1. Last night, 63 minutes, 8 passes.
8
made, not 1 tackle, 1.
Oh, that's just tragic. He's getting worse with every game, and yet I guarantee he starts against Fulham on Saturday.
This is not to pin everything on Soucek. This is not to pin. You know, he didn't make a mistake last night, right? But he didn't make a mistake. But he also did fuck all. And it's not pinning it on him. It's pinning it on Moyes. Why are you still fucking picking him?
He didn't make a contribution. That's the thing, right? And he's way out of form. And when a player's that out of form, they've got to be dropped. They've got to be dropped. Flynn Downs always comes on and done a job. He did last night as well. He did more in the first couple of minutes than Soucek did in the whole half. But the mind-boggling one for me, I could see why Soufal was brought on for Kehrer, because Kehrer was back to his being a liability last night. Should have gone off earlier. Who else? Who were the other substitutions? So
Ings for Antonio again, same old.
Well, that's the one. Ings for Antonio. I was stunned. Because Antonio was clearly one of our best players.
100%.
Right? He was definitely occupying the defenders. Right. Yeah. Danny Ings come on, and I think he touched the ball once.
It's not his game, is it?
It's not his game.
It's throwing him. It's throwing. You know what he's doing? It's taking a well-established, well-respected Premier League striker, and you're making him look like a fucking two-bob Sunday League footballer. And that's all. That's with all due respect to Sunday League footballers, but you know what I mean. You're making him look shit.
He's destroying him. He's destroying him like he's destroyed many other players. And so that was 3 of the substitutions. The other one that came on was Cornet, right? Yeah. Who I think his total contribution was 1 run down the wing and a cross. I think that was it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll talk about him in a minute at the end of the game because I picked up on something, and I know you're not happy about it.
What Cornet did was really quite special at the end. So we'll come to that.
We'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So I mean, at 3-1, you know, they started playing the Ole football, like you say, and I know that Fabs obviously did make a huge rick for the 4th goal, but up to that point, he did make some fantastic saves.
He made 2
a couple of world-class saves.
He really did. He really did. One especially. I mean, they were, and again, Newcastle seemed to be carving us up at will, even after the substitutions. So I know Carroll was the. I mean, the funny thing was he was up against St. Maximin, right? And I think that's why Soufal was brought on to help cope with him. And when he made the substitutions, Eddie Howe took St. Maximin off. Yeah. So, you know, it's just like, talk about having the manager's number. He really had his number. Yeah. Look, it was diabolical. Then we, you know, you've already mentioned it, the 4th goal, Fabianski, you know, there's a ball over the top. Fabianski decides to come out for it. I don't think it was a bad decision by Fabianski to come out for it.
Totally misjudged the bounce.
He made a complete dog's dinner of it, didn't he? And presented it to Isaac, and Isaac just casually lofted it over into the goal. Really, couldn't believe his luck.
You never score an easier goal, as they say.
No. And at this point, I think that was around about the 80th minute. The ground just emptied.
Yeah.
Right. People were literally fighting to get out in their droves. David Moyes was asked about this after the game, said, what did you think about the fans going home at 80 minutes? And he said, he was quite honest for once. He said, I thought the fans were great tonight. They were really behind the team. And he said, to be honest, I probably would have gone home. I might have gone home at 80 minutes as well. So I've never heard him say something that honest before.
But didn't he also go along the lines of a true supporter will stand up and be counted, sort of thing?
Yeah, he said that.
I haven't watched it back, so I'm not going to lie. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
He said that at the end, and I must admit, I watched the video in a fucked up way. I caught the end of the interview where he said that, and I was raging, and then I played the beginning of the interview, and I thought it was, you know what I mean? Right. So, oh God, talk about context. Yeah, and then exactly. I went home on 85 minutes, so I didn't even see the final goal. Were you still there?
I was still there, but I was just, I was sort of more analysing the game than watching the game. I was analysing what had gone beforehand. I think, if I'm right, Paqueta gave it away in midfield. Yeah. And I think Zuma might have made a bit of a balls up and Joe Linton slotted it in. But at that time, at that you know, that goal and that stage of the game, it was irrelevant, really. I mean, yes, it puts a little bit of a dent in our goal difference, considering, but we still got one of the best goal differences down there, I think, apart from Leicester. And I think it's getting to the point now where, you know, goal difference is going to play a part, I think.
Well, I think it will, John. But the problem is we've got some big teams to come down to our place. And it looks like any half-decent team we play against, they're rumping us at the moment. I mean, Brighton we played the other week, Tottenham.
Yeah.
Right. Now we ain't losing by the odd goal anymore. We're getting stuffed.
Yeah. I mean, we always had this thing where we never let in sort of more than 2 with Moyes, but now you've got the Brighton scenario, obviously, as you said last night. I mean, I'm not going to be here. I'm actually in Spain, but mate, Arsenal next Sunday, I mean, they could quite easily annihilate us if they play up to their level.
They could, and in a few weeks' time, we've got Man City away. We've got Liverpool to come to our place. We've got Man United to come to our place. You know, this is getting tough. Now, last night, fortunately, that was a bonus game. That was a game in hand, a bonus game, right? I think the other bonus game we've got is Man City, right? So in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't changed anything from where we were at the start of the game, even though, you know, getting beat 5-1 at home is just fucking shoddy. Got to before we talk about Maxwell Cornet, right? I got to say again, going back to the fans. Absolutely fantastic. And I just want to say that the effort that some fans make to get to watch these fucking games, right? There's a guy next to me, Steve, he's done his ankle ligaments, He's not next to me. He's next to me cousin Paul. He's done his ankle ligaments and he's been getting down there on a crutch all season. Right. Last week he broke his toe on the same foot. Right.
Having a good bit of luck then, is he?
I don't want to laugh, but he dragged the kitchen door over his toe and broke it. Right. And he's hobbled along and seen that game on his crutch to see us lose 5-1.
What sort of man is he? Shouldn't even be going in the kitchen. That is a woman's domain.
My cousin Paul tried to compete with him because he showed me like his black index finger where he smashed it with a club hammer. He said, I ain't slept for 2 nights. Anyway, look, just wanted to say, look, the fans we've got, we're loyal. We go to these games. We are crap, and we filled that stadium to the rafters last night.
I was surprised. I thought we'd be half empty.
Yeah, just well done. Empty, well done to all you lot who went along there, because you really made a noise and made an effort last night. And if we're going to have a chance, that's what's got to happen. That's what's got to happen.
Do we think the light show made a difference?
No.
Do we think the light show got us going? Why do a light show when that was all purely for the cameras, the sky, wasn't it? Because
of course it was. Yeah.
What are we celebrating with a light show this season? I mean.
Oh, don't tell me that weren't live.
Love it, but bloody hell.
John, tell me that weren't live on Sky.
It was on Sky, wasn't it?
Was it live on Sky? Oh,
I believe so. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, that's why it was 8 o'clock. I'm sure it was live. I might be wrong. It was live somewhere. It would definitely be live somewhere.
Christ.
I mean,
anyway,
5-1, mate. Yeah, you're right. I mean, as you said, you'd already left, but when it went 5-1, people did leave, and a lot of those that stayed started singing "You're Getting Sacked in the Morning." I think at one point the Newcastle fans started singing it first, obviously because he's crap this season, and obviously maybe because of the Sunderland connection. And then a lot of West Ham fans tried to join in. Now, I've never been someone who will do that. It's not that I don't want him to go; it is, but I can't do that. Like booing players, I'm not that sort of person. I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe I should be. Maybe if more people were like that, he would have gone. But I just sort of think to myself now, you know, most managers after losing 5-1 at home, I know we can put it down to individual errors and all that, but some of his substitutions again were baffling. We played well last night in parts, not because of him, but in spite of him.
Yeah.
And we'd be waking up to the news now with a little yellow ticker going across the bottom saying such and such has been sacked. If it was any other club, the problem is, as we know, Sullivan seems accepting of a lot of things at the moment. And
absolutely, no doubt we'll get parroted later. We'll get the Bald Insider or some person close to the club saying that the Bald is still behind Moyes. He's the best option and all that sort of shit. He ain't the best option. We played. Let's talk about it another way. We went into play Newcastle. We played 4-3-3. We lined up with 4-2-3-1 from what I saw. Right, so we didn't match them. They flooded all over us. Because they played a very, very high line. Their midfield was pressing up on their front three, and it outnumbered. That we were swamped, weren't we? We were swamped. I mean, Eddie Howe got it bang on, but there's no secret. I mean, David Moyes could have watched a Man United game the other day and realised our Newcastle play. It shouldn't be a surprise. And I think that's why when we went up there to the away game, he played 3 at the back. He tried to really stiffen it up. And I think that's what was needed last night, to be honest. You've got to, with a team like that, you have got to first and foremost stop them, I think. But the 4-2-3-1, that is his system. And what he did with the substitutions is he didn't change anything. He just brought like for like players on.
Yeah. I mean, you could say at 3-1 the game was dead, but I don't think it was. I think we had nothing to lose at that point to some extent.
What I'm saying is, John,
I was predicting before the game. I was saying Newcastle 3-0, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is 3-1 down. You make substitutions like for like. That means you ain't actually trying to come back, right? You try and damage limitation, and he's all he managed to do was concede another 2 goals.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. Was he bringing them on to try and stifle the amount of goals we conceded, or was he just doing the changes for the sake of it? I mean, when has he ever made 4 substitutions at once before? It was almost like another, look, I can do it. It was almost like another, look at me, Ma, I'm fucking doing something out of the ordinary. You're making 4. We didn't need to make 4 subs. He just needed to take Soucek and probably Kehrer off the pitch, and I think that would have been enough. And maybe give us something to hang on to a little bit more. I don't think he needed to make such drastic changes. But he was probably saving Antonio for Fulham, wasn't he?
I
That's what
agree,
you'll say.
but I think he's lost it. I mean, there was a time in the first half where, well, I think he's lost it. I know he's lost it. There was a
Mm,
time in the first half. Me and Paul were watching him. He's standing there staring at the ground like that,
yeah,
right? He did it for
yeah.
about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, right?
I
I
think
think,
he does that. You know, I've seen him stare at the ground.
yeah,
I think he does that for effect. It's almost like, look at me, I'm really concentrating on what to do next. I'm actually staring at the ground to try and focus my. It is. It's like I'm coming up with something. I've got a genius idea. What do I do? What do I do? I'm looking at the ground. I'm really thinking. You know, I think it's
yeah,
all for show. I think a lot of what he does is for show. And at the end of the
yeah.
game, he's marched onto the pitch. He has shook every player's hand, home and away player. He made a massive point of it. The camera's following him around, obviously. Now, you could say that shows balls. You could say that shows a sense of, resilience. But again, I think it's all purely for show.
I
I
agree with
do.
you. I agree with you. And talking about someone who has got no self awareness whatsoever,
He has.
Maxwell Cornet.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, don't that I was going fucking nuts at the end when they was doing their lap of honour, whatever you want to bloody call it, because Maxwell Cornet was walking around with no top on, with a Newcastle top tucked down the back of his shorts, because he, at the final whistle. Now I'm not slagging him off, and this is not papering over the cracks of the
I am.
performance and the piss poor, but read the fucking room. We've just been stuffed 5-1. We're fighting for our lives. Half the fans are gone, if not more already. And you're
Yeah.
standing on the centre circle, changing shirts with I don't know who it was. He's swapping shirts with a Newcastle player. If you're going to do it in the fucking tunnel out of sight of everybody.
Exactly. That shows
That is a
no
lack of
pride.
respect.
Lack of respect, no pride. He's just a football player playing for a football team, right? Who pays his wages. There's no, he spent 90% of the season injured.
Yeah.
Now he's making a few little cameo
Cameos.
substitute appearances. The guy's a waste of space. Fuck off.
Yeah.
That
Well, I just think something like that just shows a lack of care of the situation. If you want to swap shirts with a player you played with when you was a kid, or from international duty, whatever it might be, do it out of sight.
Yeah.
Doing it in the fucking centre circle is for me unforgivable.
I'm totally.
I don't like it at the best of times, Gal, but when we're in this situation, it fucking stinks.
Just glad I didn't see it, because I went home in 85 minutes.
I was livid. I was fucking. It was the most. It was the one thing that made me. It was the most angry I'd been all night, and there'd been some shit to look at. It made me fucking livid, and the fact that he walked around bare chested, I was going nuts.
Yeah. So look, let's not do player ratings, right? Because I think most of the team was shit, right?
Yeah.
But let's pick out the ones who deserve some credit, right? Because there's a small handful, and I'll go first. I'll go Antonio. I thought he played. I thought he tried his art out. He pulled the defenders all over the place.
I thought he was to some extent back to a little bit of his best. I think he, the Newcastle defense are one of the meanest.
Yeah,
they're fucking huge as well. They are huge. I mean,
6'7",
apart from Dan Burn,
them,
Dan Burn's the obvious one, but the rest of them are massive, absolute huge units. And I think he done very, very well against them. I think he, to some extent, gave them something to think about throughout the game. He won a lot of free kicks. I thought he was good, mate. I still don't understand it, but a lot of people giving him pelters.
No, I don't. I know where I was. There was people giving him pelters as well because he walked off slowly. I took that as him being completely disillusioned and pissed off with being substituted. Right.
But go on. Sorry, go on, Gal. Go on.
Right. The next one who deserves some credit is Rice. I thought Rice was as outstanding as you can get in a team of mugs. Right. I thought he tried to take the game by the scruff of the neck, did everything he could. At one point in the first half, showed how you tackle Callum Wilson. Absolutely brilliant. Bowen is another one who I think he was on it from the off. You could say the end result was largely ineffective, but he was the one who put the corner in for the goal as well. He's the one who nearly created that opportunity at the post in the first minute, and he was very, very busy all game, right? So I think those three, excellent. There are some others who, Emerson put in a shift, right? Do you want to talk about Emerson?
I mean, yeah, we had a bit of a disagreement, not a disagreement, not arguing, but we sort of disagreed a little bit last night on the messages, didn't we? But I thought Emerson, I know he was culpable for the second goal to some extent, but it was a fantastic run and fantastic ball, and it was only just onside. I get that, right? But he was partly to blame for that. But apart from that, I thought the funny thing is we've said it over the recent weeks. He's become he's become one of our most reliable defenders.
Yeah.
And I know he got a yellow card and that, but I think he showed a bit of grit. He was like putting it up him a little bit. You know, the old
looked like he
phrase,
cared.
Huh?
He looked like he cared, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. I thought he did all right. I thought he was the best of a bad bunch at the back. Yeah. And that's not a backhanded compliment, but I thought he was all right. You know, I thought he did well. If you look at the other defenders there last night, we know Aguirre has got a mistake in him. He's made a few recent times. Yeah. Zuma, he didn't really. Well, I suppose he did to some extent with Callum Wilson's goal, partly to blame. He's got a mistake in him. We know that.
Yeah.
And we know that Kera's got a mistake in him, and that ain't a good look. You got 3 of the back 4 who have got mistakes in them. It's not a good look.
No, it really isn't. And I think the only other one for me who comes out, and this is not full credit, but someone who put in, I'll give him half a shift because of the number of misplaced passes he made, was Picao.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's 5 players I've picked out, 4.5 players I've picked out of 11. There's no one else, is there? There's no one else.
No, but I mean, Benny was anonymous.
Yeah.
Soucek, as I've given you the stats, I mean, he's just literally. I think Nick said it a couple of weeks ago, and I have to agree with him. He just sort of shadows the players. He just literally runs along with them. He did put in one tackle, which was from behind, and it was almost like a tackle of consequences because he'd already given the fucking ball away. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Trying to correct his own mistake.
Yeah, and it was a shocking tackle from behind. I mean, he was lucky not to get booked, but you know, it's just the obvious, mate. And I mean, you're going Fulham on Saturday. I mean, that could be. You know, that could be.
It could be good or bad, right? I mean, they've got no Mitrovic. It depends how they're going to play without Mitrovic, but they have got Willian, and he's going to be attacking down that vulnerable side. So that don't fill me. They've got pace. That's the problem. And they were good for the first 20 minutes when they came to the London Stadium. So, so look, that's going to be a tough game, but it is a happy hunting ground for us. And I hope the players are angry. I hope the players are angry and they go into that game wanting to prove something, right?
I don't know if you've seen the Declan Rice interview, but I have to agree with him in so much as how we lost 5-1. That wasn't a 5-1 game yesterday. That was a 5-1 game predominantly because of individual mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And I sort of left the stadium thinking, but Rice's interview was good because Rice said, if I could play the Fulham game tomorrow, I would. You know, I hope he can get some sort of passion into a lot of those players. And if Soucek starts against Fulham, we might as well give up because it is.
It's like playing with 10 men, isn't it?
You're just playing with 10 men. You're playing with 10 men. You are. As them stats prove over recent games, you are playing with 10 men. Yeah. Games are won and lost in midfield, and we've got a passenger in fucking midfield with no energy. It's not even his lack of technical ability now. It's his lethargic meandering throughout the midfield.
I know.
He meanders like a lost deer in a fucking forest.
That is a perfect word. It's a perfect word. He does meander.
He just meanders around.
Yeah, I know.
He might as well be the referee. It's true.
Quick word on the referee, right? I know, look, we lost 5-1, we got trounced, but that referee was giving everything to Newcastle, wasn't he?
It did feel like that. It did feel like that. But when you're losing, when you're down there, maybe you're a little bit more focused on the referee, you know what I mean?
And finally, let's rate Moyes out of 10.
Look, you can only give him a shit score because he persisted with the same player who is ruining the midfield, i.e. Soucek. Moyes is ruining him by keep picking him. And like-for-like changes again. Yeah. Taking off a player in Antonio who was giving them something to think about. At 3-1, why not see Ings and Antonio together? You know?
I agree. Bad selection, bad formation, bad substitutions, unwillingness to go for the game, I'd give him a fucking 1 out of 10. He's rubbish, and he's got to go, and he should be fired today.
He won't
right?
be going. He
Of
won't
course
be
he
going.
won't be going. Of course he won't be going. He'll still be there, smiling on Saturday. There you go.
Looking down at the ground at some point, staring at the floor at some point.
It's like an ongoing nightmare, isn't it? Bloody hell. Right, that's us done. That's us done. If you've enjoyed this video, I can't think why you would have, but if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit the bell notification icon, and subscribe to the channel, Claret and Booze. Until next time, see you soon, and come on, you irons.
Irons.